Fault line. So, well, first of all, we all do live on a major historical and geological fault line today. You know, our planet is threatened in its very existence, or at least life on it. And fault line is, in fact, a sort of dramatic, apocalyptic nature of this moment in history. But now if we want to be more specific and see what kind of fault lines we're dealing with in 2024, I would differentiate between three major fault lines. One is geopolitical, a very broad one, the one that has to do with war, and also migration of hundreds of millions of people displaced because of these wars. So the return of an unprecedented geopolitical instability, okay, which, by the way, makes the difference between democracies and dictatorships blurred, at least blurred, and that's also a major problem. A second fault line, which intersects with the first one, is a more ideological fault line. It has to do with divisions over values in every part of the world. There are many ways of qualifying this fault line. I would say it's a fault line between progressists of all sorts and conservatives, or more ultra-conservatives, hyper-conservatives, on the rise everywhere on Earth, in fact, in power or about to be in power, and fighting these progressists with a renewed aggressivity. So this fault line is partly artificial because it's fueled by the media agenda and by politicians. And I would say these two fault lines need to be understood against the background of a much larger and dramatic fault line, which has to do with climate change, with the environment, with a geological age, not a historical age, not just politics, you know, our little human lives scale, but, you know, the very existence of, you know, species, plants, animals, the air we breathe. And this fault line requires that we unite, you know, and join forces to contain extraction, pollution, the destruction of the environment. So you see, these three fault lines are very different, but simultaneous, and we need to face all of them in this moment in history. Well, if the three fault lines I just listed are a geopolitical one having to do with war and migration, an ideological one having to do with the aggravated clash between progressists and ultra-conservatives, and an environmental or geological fault line which has to do with the threat on life on Earth, I would say that the courage we need, all of us, in this summit as much as in, you know, all circumstances in our political and social life, is to unite over these struggles instead of fragmenting and dividing forces. Obviously, progressives and conservatives live on the same planet, are under the same threat on life forms, you know, clean air, pollution, and all these things on the same planet. Obviously, wars, especially the one in Ukraine or in the Middle East, do not distinguish between conservatives and progressives, kill, you know, everyone, you know, whatever their opinion is. So in this context, I think the risk is to deepen existing divisions and being unable to unite and federate over more general threats and issues for which we all need to fight together. So I would say the courage is to distinguish between not so urgent divisions and the most urgent ones, which require unity. Yes, it's true that we live through an agonistic moment in public debate, anywhere, in fact, today. I mean, mostly in democracies where people are ready to kill each other, but kill each other rhetorically, kill each other with words until, of course, one day they face each other on an actual real-life street. But most often, it's rhetorical, and it goes pretty far in terms of rhetorical violence, verbal violence. It's a complex issue. We have to be careful. There is truth to this divide and to this opposition and conflict between various forces. As I said, you know, the conflict between conservative values and progress or progressists is more intense, aggressive than it's been in decades today. So it's true, and it's, you know, for example, it might plunge the United States into a civil war after the election of, you know, November, presidential election. But at the same time, a large part of this rhetorical violence and debate is artificial. It's fueled by a culture of clash, talk shows, medias that love this culture of clash because they make views and money off it. I would add one thing, because that's probably specific to today's situation. We have now understood, all of us, that language, verbal violence, does hurt. That basically the difference between kicking someone and insulting or speaking to this someone with, you know, derogatory terms is not a difference in nature. Words, lexicon can harm as much as, you know, enslavement or physical fight. And likewise, language can also heal. If a respectful language is being used, it can also help refabricate some sort of social link between people. So this is something that the new generation is very aware of. So they might be a little ticklish or demanding or sometimes strict about language, about how to call this or that category, but they're very right in telling us that language hurts and language can heal. So that violence, indeed, we need to take charge of, take care of in language, all of us.